go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully you can all see this. So about 2 weeks ago, we had the opportunity to host our first Datathon office hours where I went over a little bit about who we are as Esri, what ArcGIS is, and giving an overview of how to access ArcGIS as a platform, as well as all the other applications available in here. So today I'm going to give you all a quick recap, and then we're going to focus mainly on making sure that all of you have access to ArcGIS Online, that you're able to log in and, view the different things that are enabled on your side. So by kicking things off, I want to first and foremost cover how to actually access ArcGIS Online. So by now, and I'll give you all some time at the end to make sure you can check your email. You should already have access to it. You should have gotten an invite to it. So once you create your username and password, you'll log into the Global Community Engagement Hub in ArcGIS Online. So when you're first signing in, you're going to go ahead and click that button, and you'll sign in with that username and password. So once you sign in, this is what you'll see. You'll see some information at the top, and you'll also be able to access the app launcher. So the app launcher is located next to your name up at the top. So this is the app launcher. This is where you'll essentially access all the different applications. So beyond bringing in the data, this is where you'll access the map and other features such as story maps. So from here, you'll click on these and it'll launch into those various applications. So in terms of actually accessing the content and the data itself, there's a few different ways that you can access that. So first, we're going to go into groups. Within groups, you'll see the UN Datathon 2024 recommended data sets. This was created by Kate. So when you click on this, we're going to look at view details. And essentially, these are all the recommended data sets that you all have access to, and you can use part of your analysis and your work. So these are just some of the suggested ones. This is where it's located, but I will also show how to download data and bring it into ArcGIS Online as well. So now that we have access to some of our suggested data sets, we're going to go back into content, which is where we'll upload our own data sets that we download into our computer and bring it over into ArcGIS Online. So every time we want to bring in a data set, we're going to click on New Item up at the top. And right here, I'm going to switch over to the GeoMedlin website to show you guys how to download that data and bring it into ArcGIS Online. And just to pause here, I see that a few people are chatting that they don't have access to it yet. So I'm going to make sure that I add you all in at the end. So this is one of the sample sites that also has a lot of great data resources. So you have access to this as well as other data sets available to you for you to download. So looking at, for example, the multidimensional poverty index, I'm going to click on this, click on learn more, and we're going to download shape files of this open data. It's going to take a sec to download or to load. And once I have this, I can click on shapefile. And as it's downloading up at the top, I can go back into ArcGIS Online where I have a new item pulled up and can drag and drop this. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and give this data set a title. So whatever you'll remember it by. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. So from here, it's going to go ahead and publish it as a service, and soon we'll have it available to us as a feature layer. So when I open this, I'm going to open it in Map Viewer. So it's taking a sec to finish up. So now I can open it in Map Viewer, or I can also go in here and look for Map Viewer in my app launcher and pull that data set in. So this is going to take us to our multidimensional poverty index that we just pulled in by downloading it and uploading it into ArcGIS Online. So from here, with the data that we're bringing in, we can change the symbology as well as do analysis on top of it. So how you would kind of access some of those features is by clicking on that layer we just brought in, and then we're going to go into the side right here, which is where you'll access some of those symbology features as well as analysis tools. So installs is where you're going to change the symbology, and install options will have an opportunity to change the color as well as change the transparency. So instead of leaving it as a solid color, if you want to make it more transparent, you can change that percentage. And then we can also change the color by clicking around and changing it to a desired color of our option. Um, and from there, we can change the symbology, and I'm going to keep it at this blue color. So far I talked about how we can bring in data from external sources and adding into ArcGIS Online. But one really great feature of ArcGIS in general is you can also add existing layers within ArcGIS Online to the Living Atlas. So we're going to go into content and we're going to switch over to Living Atlas. So the Living Atlas is a collection of geographic data that's ready for analysis. So it's coming from both authoritative data resources such as NOAA and NASA, the big names that you can think of, as well as some more local data sets. So this is available to you and you can pair it with the data you're bringing in, or you can also use it as a standalone as well. So this is where you would access that. So from here, let's say I want to look at hotels in Colombia. I can bring that layer and add it directly onto my current feature. So from here, now I have access to the multidimensional poverty index I brought in, as well as the Colombia hotels. And then from here, we have our layers, but let's say we want to be able to do some analysis on top of that. So where you access those analysis tools again in the right pane. So we looked at styles for changing our symbology, and now we're going to move down and click on analysis. So there's quite a different amount of tools you have available. So we're going to click on tools, and there's different categories of tools that you can look at. So let's say you want to summarize data. You have tools for that, finding locations, enriching data, analyzing patterns. So those are just some of the few categories you have access to for doing further analysis. So one example of how we can utilize these analysis data or do analysis is with, for example, aggregate points. So we see a bunch of points scattered around here in Medellin. So let's say we want to understand the number of points that are the number of hotels that are in each of these regions. We can use aggregate points, so we can bring in our Colombia hotels, and we can pair it up with our multidimensional poverty index, and we can go ahead and give it a name and click run. So it's going to take a sec to run, but in the meantime, I've already done this ahead of time. So we can go ahead and look at this layer. So this is how it's going to look. And when I pull up my properties, we can see that the number of hotels per these different regions in Medellin. So again, this is just one example of how you can utilize those analysis tools. Again, you have access to the rest of them, so you can test and see how it works with your data sets. So that's as far as accessing ArcGIS Online, bringing in data, as well as looking at Living Atlas for other data resources. So as you're working and you're wrapping up your work for the Datathon, you're encouraged to submit your final product as a story map. So a story map is an interactive way we can bring in different media from maps, apps, and other resources to tell a cohesive story about the problem we're solving and the steps we took to essentially assessing that problem. So this story map here is a example of the story map that won, or of the project that won in last year's Datathon. So we can see how this team has highlighted the problem, and it's interactive with images changing as the story is moving along. And we can also click on the different tabs at the top, so we can look at the different approaches this team took, as well as the different features they brought in within ArcGIS Online. So this is an example of a map. I believe this is a dashboard that they brought in. So you can pair up different ArcGIS Online applications in the story map to tell that cohesive story. So in terms of actually accessing ArcGIS story maps, when you're done with your analysis, you're going to go back into your app launcher and you're going to click on ArcGIS story map, which will land you to this page. So in terms of actually bringing in those different resources that you're utilizing, it's going to land to this empty story map, which is where you're going to start building your own story map. So we're going to click on this plus button, which is where you'll have access to bringing in different media, text. So let's say you want to type up something and provide some context to what you're bringing in. We can start to type in our story. So in this example, I'm just going to give a title. And let's say we want to bring in maps or other media. We can add a map. Sorry, let me reload this real quick. So this is where you'll bring in your maps that you saved to ArcGIS Online. So this is the one that we made together, and I can go ahead and save that and bring it into my story map. So again, this is where you'll make that story map as you're submitting it as a final product. So one last thing I wanted to point you all to is the wiki page, which all of you should have access to by now. This will also review some of the background information of who Esri is, how to access ArcGIS Online, as well as it will go over some information about the tools, the web apps, notebooks, story maps, so on and so forth. And you'll also have access to the data sets here as well. So if you want to start off here, this is a great starter point for you to access and download some of those data sets to bring into ArcGIS Online. So at this time, I did a quick overview of what we discussed in our last UN Datathon office hours. Now I'm going to pause real quick for any quick questions, and let's go ahead and make sure that all of you have access to ArcGIS Online. So any questions so far? If not, I encourage you to go to your email and make sure you have that invitation and go ahead and set your password. Just to check, does everyone see that invitation so far? Let me know if you have any issues setting up your password or accessing that email. In the meantime, I'll give you all some time to set up your username and password. Okay, Veronica, I see that you didn't receive the email. Let me just make sure that, um, okay, thank you for that. I'll first make sure you're not already added in, and I'll go ahead and invite you to this org. So it looks like at the moment, I don't have access to adding you into the org, but you can email Alex from UNSD, and he can um, oh, actually, sorry. So if all of you can, so those of you who don't have access to it, if you can give me your first and last name with your email, I will go ahead and email Alex after this and make sure that you guys can have access to it later today. And for those of you who were able to successfully log in, can you let me know if you see everything that I showed you earlier? You have access to the community organization, and you see your app launcher as well as the groups, just to make sure that you see, you have access to all the right things. And I see someone had a question about how to receive the credentials for AWS. So I'm going to drop the wiki link in the chat. So in here, there's a section for the Amazon Web Services. This will give you information on how to essentially retrieve those credentials. So if you read more about that, it should give you some more information. Any other questions at the moment? So there aren't any rules, as long as, you name it with something that you're going to remember by, and, you're keeping it pretty concise, it should upload. So yeah, I would just say whatever represents that data file that you're bringing in, and yeah, you should be able to upload it. And for those of you who don't have access to the organization yet, you can also email Alex directly as well. So I'm going to drop his email in the chat, and you can CC Kate in the email as well, letting him know that you don't have access to it. And I'll also collect the emails from Maria at the end, just to make sure that those of you who don't have access yet, will have access by the end of today. But yeah, you can also email them directly. And Alex, looks like you have a question.
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry, I cannot switch on the camera right now. I hope you can hear me well. Please just put the email addresses if you don't have access yet in the chat. Maria is collecting them. You can also email me and Kate, and we will also check our registration data, why that was. But in principle, also during the competition, if you don't have access or something, just drop a message in the Discord channel and then we can have a look into that. So I would say that is this. Josh, I just have a question. So you're just doing now Q&A, right? Or
Yeah.
are you going to present anything else? No.
Nope. I did the preview in the beginning of what we covered in the last office hours, and right now I'm just making sure everyone has access to it. Any questions and they have following that. And if those who have access to it, you can log off early if you don't have any other questions. But with that, I'll hang around for about 5 to 10 more minutes to just address any other last minute questions. So yeah.
Yep, that sounds good. Yeah, let's see maybe for 5 minutes if there is still questions. If not, then we can just close, right?
Okay, sounds good.
So please, everyone, if you still have any questions for Josh, now is the time. Otherwise, I mean, except for the access related questions, those please, yeah, just drop your email address in the chat and we are collecting those. Yeah. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat. Thanks.
Everyone's so quiet. Don't feel afraid to ask questions or if you're running into any issues. And if you're good to go, again, feel free to log off early. Um, and yeah, good luck on the Datathon. And there's a question about what kind of data files can you upload and use. You're not limited to just shape files. You can also bring in CSV, Excel files, geodatabases, geo packages. So there's quite a variety of them that you can bring in. And again, the wiki page will also cover the different data types you can bring in as well. So no, you're not just limited to shape files. Today I covered that as an option to bring in, but you have access to other types as well. Yeah, no problem. All right. It doesn't look like anyone else has any other questions. If you do at a later time, feel free to reach out to us, and any one of us will be happy to answer those questions. But other than that, we can go ahead and end early. Again, hope all of you will have access to this shortly. And with that, good luck on this year's Datathon. Looking forward to seeing what all of you come up with. But that being said, we can go ahead and end the meeting early. Have a good one.
Thanks everyone for joining. Please have a look at the wiki. All the information that you need is there. Yeah. And see you in Medellin. Bye bye.